next keynote speaker, we will have Frederik Bisbjerg, who about the role of APIs in insurance transformation. So hello, Frederik. How are you?
Hello, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to have you. So you can share your slides. And yes, let's talk about change, technology, and innovation. Thank you, Frederik.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I want to talk about how the insurance industry by using our ecosystems or APIs to actually get things done. Now, I heard Sanjeev. He was just saying something really interesting when we were talking about embedded banking. And just to give you an idea of we're looking at in an insurance industry, I might add that I'm heading the digital transformation office of Daman Insurance, health insurance, which is the largest health insurer in the Middle East. And our role is to put digital at the heart of the UAE healthcare ecosystem. And if you just look at this slide, you will see the level of connectivity that we are required to have. We are required to connect 4,000 plus hospitals, doctors, providers with more than 2.5 million members, making sure that we have all the right connectivity to our ecosystems, to the government, and so forth. So our world is basically one big API or connectivity issue. Now, what I wanted to discuss today is a few things on why it is so important to enable this connectivity and how you can go about doing it. Because one thing is talking about it and saying, yes, we need to be able to connect and to embed, as NGP was talking about. Now, this was lifestyle into banking apps. And I want to tell you why it is so important, but I also want to discuss why it is so difficult for organizations to do so and how you can work around it in order to get it done. Now, when we're looking at the insurance world, we are also looking into the world of embedded insurance. Our problem, I guess you can say, is that people they don't really want to buy insurance. Insurance is a product that people they in most cases are forced to buy. They have to pay a lot of money upfront for it, and in most cases they actually hope that they will never have to use this product. Because typically, if you have to use an insurance product, that means that you've had an incident, which is not necessarily a very positive experience. So it's a difficult product to sell and work with. Of course, it is important, and especially when you look at it from a healthcare insurance perspective, it is a bit more positive because it opens up for a world of healthcare. However, when we are looking at how insurance in the future most likely will be sold, then we will be the embedded part. The insurers of the world will be the embedded part. So whenever you go somewhere to buy products on Amazon or Netflix or Google or wherever you go, you will most likely be offered, and you will today, as you can see, a little insurance to just cover that TV that you just bought or something else. And this is where we as insurers need to be able to connect to other parties to offer our products as embedded insurance products. That means for us that our world in the future, this is our new normal. We can't just set a pointer saying this is the way we have to go in our strategy and then we just blindly follow this. Our world is fluctuating, and it's fluctuating on a monthly basis. So if we are to create an organization, an insurance organization that is capable of following the fluctuations in the environment, we have to rethink how we are working with our systems, with our organization, with our culture, so to speak. Because in today's world, this is how it looks from an IT or digital delivery perspective. We are still, our insurers, or I would even say most incumbent organizations, are still working with IT as long-term projects. It takes 6, 9, 12, 18 months for a project to be defined, scoped, described, developed, tested, and accepted for going live. The problem is that during that period, which is a long time, the whole world is moving on. So the problem is the day that IT is actually releasing the product, everything has moved on. So we celebrate the release of the product with a huge list of change requests, simply because the world has changed while we were busy building the product. And in order to mitigate or work with that, we have to understand, why is it that this happens? Because I can guarantee you, it is not IT or anybody who doesn't want us to succeed. It is a combination of a lot of factors that simply just makes it difficult for us to move as fast as we want. And if we understand that, we also have a way out of it. So please, even though the previous slide could look like I'm shooting at IT, I'm not. IT are probably the place in the organization who wants the company to succeed the most, but there are just so many factors making it more difficult. And I'd like to discuss that, because there are at least four main areas that are the reason for us having a difficult time meeting the fluctuations in the environment. And I'll go through them one by one, simply because they are so important. We have the concept of technical debt, the available resources, a culture of us versus them, and then organizational capabilities. From a technical debt perspective, I'm not sure if you are aware of that term, but technical debt is what happens when IT cut corners. And again, I'm certain that IT does not want to cut corners deliberately. It happens because we have to, if you remember the fluctuations in the environment, we have to get something to the market, and we have to get it fast, and we are already delayed. We go to IT and we say, okay, we have to do this together, and we only have 9 months or 6 months, and then it has to be live. IT, they come back and say no, because we have to do impact analysis. We have to make sure that the systems are capable of working with it. We have to understand what consequences it will have in our databases and so forth. So it will take longer. The business don't have the time. They escalate it and say, what can we do? We need to launch this really fast. Maybe the C-level takes over and tells IT, launch it. And IT say, okay, we can do it, but we have to cut corners. We have to make sure, we have to not take this into consideration, or we have to make an ad hoc solution over here. This is what creates technical debt. Because next time we have to do a project, we have to take this corner cutting into perspective. So we have to make sure that, does this corner cutting have any effect in what we're going to do now? So the impact analysis is going to take more time. In many cases, we also have to work around that corner cutting we did before. So it all adds up, and it simply builds to the time it takes to deliver products. And it is a significant issue in most organizations, because this has happened for 10, 12 years, which means that year on year you are simply adding to your technical debt, and you're not paying it off, which means it just becomes bigger and bigger. So your systems become slower and to work with, and simply takes longer time to get things done. And when you're looking at this, then at the same time, because, and again, I'm not shooting at anybody here, I'm just telling you how the world is. And because IT is now under pressure to deliver something which they can't deliver the perfect way, but in a haphazard way, I dare say. So IT, they are not really happy of taking the responsibility for this delivery. So they are putting it to the business to say that this is what you want, and these are the requirements, and we are only delivering these requirements. And that kills the relationship or the partnership between the business and IT, because IT, they are not happy that they have to move faster than the systems actually allow them. So they will take a step back and say, we will do it. We don't think this is the right way of doing it, but it's your problem, dear business. And that hardens the relationship between it. So you have this us versus them feeling in the organization. So that means that the way of requirements gathering becomes much more difficult, because everything has to be signed off many times. We have to have the user acceptance test. If something goes wrong, we will basically go back to the papers and say, hey, you signed it, it's your problem. And again, here, it doesn't make it easier to get delivered things fast. Now, if you look at what I said in the beginning, when you have a fluctuating environment, but a more linear IT delivery because of the things we are talking about, then you will also have a large pile of change requests laying with the IT department, because they have the changes that the IT wants, because the world has changed faster than the IT delivery has been capable of doing. And you have to prioritize the change requests to the systems. And then you start to, depending on key people, the people who actually did the ad hoc solution that caused the technical debt, maybe they didn't, because they didn't have the time, document it properly. And you are now starting to be dependent on key people, meaning that even if you added 10 more people, 100 more people, you wouldn't be able to move much faster, simply because you are dependent on this bottleneck, this person. The last thing I wanted to talk about in the reasons why it's difficult to get things done fast, which we need to do in order to follow the environment, is the organization. If we start hiring people or hiring external help, in many cases we look into a long procurement process. We have to make sure that everything is compliant and we're working the right way, which again takes time in the way that we are working. We may look into, and this is typically in the financial services, I would assume, a certain kind of change resistance from the top management, because now we have these systems that are working. Why is it that we want to change and look more into dynamic development and more use of APIs? And then the whole talent gap that is there in the market today, which affects all of us. Now, I know I've painted quite a dim picture of the world. So the question is there no way out of it? And of course there is. I mean, it isn't all bad. I just wanted to give you an idea of all the issues that organizations and insurance companies are facing today. But of course there is a way out of it. And partly is of course, since we're talking about APIs, but how do we work with APIs in the organization? How do we get this speed back? And I find there are three main areas. There is the creating an environment on connectivity. It is looking into what I call the power of one. And at the end, when we do things, we have to do things in short-term projects. Now, the environment of connectivity, this is, as I showed you in the very beginning, where you enable partners to connect seamlessly to the systems. Daman is in the center of the healthcare ecosystem of the UAE. We have to be able to connect seamlessly to all our partners, be it hospitals, doctors, providers, be it the government, be it our corporate clients or 2.5 million members. We have to be able to connect seamlessly. When you're building this environment of connectivity, you will also be able to reduce the need for in-house capabilities, simply because you can use plug and play solutions. Just to give you an example, our mobile app is built as a shell. It is basically one big API shell where we can plug and paste in best of breed applications. So when we want a virtual care platform, for example, telemedicine, where we can call a doctor online, we can find the best of breed app plugin for teleconsultations, put that in. If you want to have a doctor's appointment booking system, we can find best of breed and plug that in. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but can take best of breed and build our app around this. Our intellectual property in this case will be the connectivity, the API layers, and the app itself, not necessarily the appointment booking system, but the way all the systems are working together. So of course, this is important, and when you do this, business also becomes much more responsible or engaged, because you can go and work with the business to say, if you want a teleconsultation product, go find or suggest some partners, and we will work with it together, and they will be able to help you get the right product installed in the company. And of course, how do we do this? We do it by enabling a technology architecture which is called multi-speed, 2-speed, 3-speed, whatever you want to call it. But the idea here is that you are isolating your core systems, your transactional core systems. You're isolating them with a connectivity layer, and then on top of this layer, you can build a layer of differentiation where you have your business processes, you have your business rules, This is actually where, if you're into digital transformation and you are changing or revamping your processes, you are digitalizing your processes. If you have this layer, the specialists within the business can actually work on these business processes and the business rules directly in what's called low code or no code systems, and change the processes and thereby improve the way the companies are working. You're able to do this simply because you have defined this layer of connectivity, this API between your process systems and your transactional core, meaning that we don't have to look into changes to the transactional core. And this is where it takes a lot of time to do. On top of your layer of differentiation, that's where you have the systems of engagement. This is where you have your mobile apps, your websites, and your partner connectivity. Again, there is an API layer between your websites, your apps, and your partner connectivity, down to your business rules and your workflow management and process, and then down to the transactional core. By separating the systems like this, you are building an organization that will be capable of doing many things at the same time, simply because you won't be depending on people are working in the core system, and you cannot do anything in the other layers because you have to go to the core systems. Typically, as you can see here, the core systems and the APIs will for sure be done by IT. This is your intellectual property. The API layers and the core systems is hardcore for the business. But the products and the systems that you're using in the systems of engagement, the top layer and the middle layer, will not necessarily be anything that the business, apart from keeping it alive and running and connected correctly to the other layers, the IT will not necessarily have too much to work on here, because it is these low-code systems where you can train the business units to work with them themselves. That means that you're taking a lot of pressure away from IT. They can start focusing on reducing the technical debt, creating this layer of connectivity and keeping the API layers alive in the best possible way, so that the business can work on the simpler layers and getting things done faster. This is working and it's doable. I've been working with this for, I would say, 15 years now. It is possible. And I would say one of the keys here is to understand that you don't necessarily have to change your core systems, but you have to isolate it so you can work outside the core, independent on these changes in the core system that do take a long time. Now, when we're looking at the concept of the power of one, and this is more my recommendation on how to get started. Don't think that you can transform your whole organization in one. Start with one team, one unit, and one project. Make sure that project has full focus on change, and get started, get them full support. When you're working on the one project instead of many projects, the project also internally on the organization will be less challenging. The business unit owners and the people who've been in the culture for a long time and feel they own the business, they won't feel as threatened by this single change project. And it's easier to manage and keep the motivation for change, simply because there's focus on one project, and when it succeeds, you will celebrate the success. And that pretty much ties into the next one I wanted to talk about, because keep the project short term. We try to keep everything that we're doing to a maximum of 3 months. Even if we have a longer, maybe a 1 or 2 year change project, we will break it down into 3 months deliverables, simply because it is much easier to deal with. It starts rewarding or giving back the benefits immediately. We can celebrate this, and then we can build on this celebration and these results to move on to the next project. And for me, this is the key. This is the key to change. You have to make sure that your data model, your technology architecture is fairly full of connectivity with the API layers as we discussed. But you also have to make sure when you start working on changing or adapting to the changing environments, keep it in short-term projects. Even long projects need to be cut down to projects that you can easily overview and within a quarter show to the board of directors or your C-level that, hey, we said we wanted to do that, we did it, it's working, now we're moving on. So these are the things that that I see we need to do in order to adjust companies to deal with a very volatile future. I don't think we'll ever go back to a normal where things are stable. So you have to create a company that is capable of delivering things really, really fast. I also don't believe in changing your core systems, your basic digital IT systems, but I believe in isolating the cores with APIs so you can work on other projects in parallel and distribute the workload, not only to the ICP, but even to business specialists. I think I'm kind of out of time now. If there's any questions, or if I'm allowed to continue, I have a few more slides to talk about how you actually motivate people to work with you. But as I said, I think I'm out of time.
Yeah, we are 7 minutes, including the question still.
Oh.
So you can continue with the few slides if
Very
you want.
good, very good, very good. Yeah, because so when we're looking into this, the main aspects of success is people and culture. We can talk about transformation and digital transformation, IT APIs and APIs all day, but if people are not with you, then you're not going to go anywhere. And if you see the picture I've been painting of especially the insurance industry, is that it's an old industry, a very proud industry, and it's a financial services industry. So it is a slow moving industry, right? And now I like to say that most insurers are overweight because there are so many things that are stopping the insurers of moving fast. You have people who've been in the industry for decades, who have their habits, who've been very successful for many years, and therefore, and then they should believe that they're really good at their job, which they are. But it's also difficult for them to start changing their habits. They don't know what's coming, so they will resist the change. So whenever you come and say, let's do this new things, they will say, no, because this has been working for me for 15 years. I'm not changing it. And this is also something that you'll see in the way that the industry is thinking in silos and kingdoms. I'm head of this unit, and I've been doing good for many years, and I'll continue doing this. We are also a heavily regulated industry, so there will be a lot of red tape and maybe even old processes, because we haven't looked into changing our processes for many years because they've been working well. I don't think they will work well for a long time, so we have to start thinking. We have the legacy IT systems, as I spoke about, and then the talent base, it's aging, and our culture as well. It's a proud industry. People have been in the industry for 20, 30, 50 years, and that just means, I'm not saying that people don't have the talent or the skills. I'm just saying that their likelihood for wanting to change their habits is less. So all these things are things that we are fighting with. When you start approaching this, I have a few examples on how you can get that to work. First, you need to set the vision that people believe in. And the vision has to be your guiding star somewhere up here. You also have to appreciate, with everything I've been talking about today, that you won't go there in a straight line. You will go there in a very curved line, but you still have to keep your vision intact. So you know, even though you're deviating from the straight line, that you're still looking at your North Star. Change always, if you want to do it successfully, has to start with a perfect team. You have to find people who want to change, who are full of fire to do these changes and want to work with you to get it done. This makes things much easier, and it gives you a head start in the changes that you're working with. We already spoke about breaking down the project into smaller chunks, so it's easier to show that it's working, and you can celebrate your successes earlier. One thing that is a fact in most industries is that your motivation follows the money. So if you apply a strong performance management program saying, now your annual reward, your bonus, will be directly tied to your ability to implement these changes in the organization, then you will find, first of all, it works, and you will find it also helps breaking down barriers between business units, simply because now you have a team across business units who are being rewarded for getting something done, and they will work towards this. So it's a very strong motivational factor to tie a an incentive program directly to the projects and the way that you're working. The last thing, because normally when I'm talking about this, people they're saying that that's fine, but we have 500 other projects that are also important and running, and that's right, and you have to stop some of them. In order to do this successfully, you have to stop some projects. You have to do a project re-evaluation exercise where you say, okay, what projects are actually adding value at the shortest period of time, and then prioritize them. You will for sure also have to reskill people. It's taking longer to hire new people and maybe also influence the culture in a bad way than it does to reskill the people that you have, the people who want to work with you. Give them the training that they need and the experience that they need, and then let them be part of driving the changes. I propose that you should add this to the board agenda. So every time there is a board meeting, they actually ask directly, what is the status of this project? It will give you such a stronger focus within the organization to get these things done. And then, of course, celebrate whenever you can. You cannot celebrate too much. So make sure something good happens. Celebrate, show the organization that everything is success. Now I'm done. Thank you so much. If there's any question, I'd be more than happy to take them.
Thank you very much, Frederik. We have one question about like the impact on regulation on the insurance aspect. In the banking.
I'm not sure if you are talking, but if you are, then I cannot hear you.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me? No.
But as I said, when you're working with this, the trick is to not make it too difficult. If you start making it a big project and very difficult, then you're more likely to fail. So start in the small and take it from there. Just baby steps, step by step, but make sure that you have the direction towards the transformation that you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederik.
Most welcome.
Oh, okay, you were able to listen, but we reached the time perfectly. So thank you, Frederik. I think it was a really well explained keynote presentation.